Thank you very much, everybody. Sorry for some technical issues that we were facing. Welcome from Pakistan and good morning to everybody. This
Thank you.
presentation is basically about universities and the role of universities as they are changing in the pandemic era. And the important thing is that we have to realize that as we are going through economic crunch, the universities are also facing a problem of running their financials properly. Uh, this financial crunch is not only for the universities, but also for the industry and the general public at the same time. Therefore, my presentation, which is titled as that universities as national innovation systems, a growth model for sustainable knowledge economy in the era of pandemic. It is going to focus on the educational institutions, especially for the developing countries. Uh, I'm using the word developing countries because the countries which are in the developed world have already transformed their education system and they have aligned it with the industry and with the requirement of the community in such a manner that their universities are self-sufficient. Whereas when in the developing countries like Pakistan and other countries, we can include Malaysia in that, in these countries, the universities are not synchronized with the requirement of the industry. And in order to move on, my presentation would be the format of the presentation would be in three sections, we can say. First would be what the new changes that are taking place in the environment, and the universities have to cope with these changes. Secondly, I would be talking about what the universities can do so that they are in a better position to survive in the new change. And finally, we are going to look at the strategies that are available to these universities. That could be. So when we talk about the changes that have taken place in the environment, we see that like the equation of by the Einstein E is equal to mc square, a major paradigm change has taken place. And we can say that a new time and space equation has taken place. For example, if we talk about distances, there has been a death of distance because with the use of information technology and other technologies that we have available now, we are globally connected. Similarly, the concept of time, that has already changed because it might be morning in one country, whereas in another country, it would be a different time, it could be evening. And as we are talking in this webinar, uh, in Pakistan, we have a morning, it's a very fine morning, but in other countries, it might be late in the evening or it might be early morning. So the concept of time and space is changing. And at the same time, the concept of mass has also changed because as we are moving from the manufacturing industry into the knowledge era, most of the products that organizations and universities are producing are information based. And as a result of that, the traditional concept of shipping one product to another country around the globe, which used to take a lot of time, that has also changed. We can sell our product from one country to another over internet. So these are few of the changes that are taking place and that have a strong impact on the industry. When we connect it with the recent development, for example, we are talking about the COVID, the impact that COVID had on these things. These changes have been further accelerated with the uh, upcoming of the COVID, we can say. So talking about the challenges that the academia and the industry, they have to cope with respect to the changes. One that we identified is the knowledge economy paradigm that is coming up in a much stronger manner. Then we have new products coming out, which are more knowledge embedded. That means the life cycle of the product, the traditional life cycle, has been reduced to quite some time. And if we even look at the mobile phones or other electronic products, it's a pressure on industry that the new product should be coming. Otherwise, the company would not be able to be a leader in that product. And because of that, we can see the other thing that has happened, especially for the manufacturing industry, is that quality has become international. It does not matter in which country you are living, the type of product that you are making. It is important that the other countries are selling their products in your marketplace. And because of that thing, the quality is something which has become international. And when we talk about internationally, the quality, it is of course related with the cost of a product. That means that cost has also become international in that sense. Keeping these two things in mind, what we see is that globalization, competition is something that cannot be avoided. And what we have to do as an education institution or as an industry is that we have to be more competitive. Otherwise, the survival would not be possible. Now, moving on to add some figures on what we were talking about, we see that if we look at the top 10 research and development spending countries in the world, we will see that China is at the head leading country, followed by United States and Japan. And if we look at the figures, another important thing that comes to our notice, we can say, is that, for example, China is spending 1.9% of GDP on research and development, whereas United States is giving 2.88 GDP percent for research and development. Japan is giving 3.5%, and Germany 2.84% of the GDP. An important trend that shows us is that, for example, Japan is giving highest priority to research and development, spending 3.5% of its GDP on research. That I would relate with the changing world. As the world is changing at a faster pace, it is very important that the research and development should be given a higher priority. And being from a developing country, that also means that the developing countries should be giving more importance to research and development. But when we talk about research and development, it is not something which is, it costs a lot to spend in these areas. And generally, a country is reluctant to do that because the results of R&D are not always guaranteed. It is not always guaranteed that whatever you are spending on the research will return you as much as you were expecting. But it's a path that we have to follow, and sooner or later, that will add value to our products. Now, coming back to how the pandemic has affected the research and development of especially the universities, we see that a survey conducted by Research and Development World, recent survey in that, and they concluded that 38% of the surveyed universities were saying that the budget was significantly reduced, right? And 20% is saying that budget was slightly reduced. And if we look at the next percentage, that is 31% are saying that performance was significantly reduced. So if I summarize this, what I would say is that already